I accidentally became the designated translator for a hostage negotiation in a foreign pharmacy. I want to establish immediately that I do not speak the language fluently. I want this on record because what followed has been retold by people who were not there with a confidence about my linguistic abilities that I find both flattering and medically irresponsible. I speak what I would honestly classify as aggressive tourist Portuguese. Enough to order food, navigate transit, apologize convincingly for bumping into people. I had been in Lisbon for 11 days on a solo trip taken after a year that had required recovery in the form of warm weather and no obligations. My Portuguese had improved through desperation rather than mastery. The pharmacy was small, well-lit, on a side street I had taken because my usual route was blocked by a delivery truck. I needed sunscreen. I walked in on a situation. A man of perhaps 70, clearly a tourist, was standing at the counter in escalating distress, communicating in what I identified as Dutch, which I do not speak at all. The pharmacist was responding in Portuguese and fragmented English, neither of which was landing. A second pharmacist had appeared from the back and was on a phone call with the quality of someone seeking reinforcement. The man was holding his chest. Not dramatically, not the clutching of someone mid-cardiac event, but the careful pressing of someone managing something chronic and trying to communicate the management of it. He had a pill bottle in his other hand and was pushing it toward the pharmacist with increasing urgency. I stepped forward. I asked the pharmacist, in my tourist Portuguese, to tell me slowly what information she needed from him. She explained the name of his cardiologist, the date of his last dosage adjustment, whether he was experiencing specific symptoms. Then I turned to the man and asked in English whether he spoke any. He said yes. A little. He was trembling with the specific tremor of someone managing fear rather than medical crisis. Across approximately 14 minutes, through a combination of my tourist Portuguese, his limited English, the pharmacist's patience, and a translation application that was correct 80% of the time and creatively wrong about the remaining 20, we extracted what she needed. She made a phone call. She returned and dispensed his medication with a clear explanation of timing that I translated into English with the application's assistance and the man's confirmation that he understood. He sat on a small chair near the door. The trembling had reduced. He looked at me with the expression of someone who has been genuinely frightened and is now on the other side of it. He said in English that he thought he was going to be all right. I said I thought so too. He told me his name was Willem and shook my hand with both of his in the way of people for whom handshakes carry genuine weight. The pharmacist said something in Portuguese I understood well enough to know it was kind. I bought my sunscreen and stood on the pavement outside in the warm afternoon thinking about side streets and delivery trucks and 11 days that had made my Portuguese just sufficient for one specific Tuesday. Willem was outside too, sitting on a low wall. His wife had arrived during the final minutes from a cafe across the street, located by the second pharmacist's phone call. She shook my hand and said she had visited Lisbon for 30 years and had never needed anyone to translate for her husband before. I said I had been there 11 days and had not expected to translate for anyone either. She laughed. Willem laughed. I laughed. Then I walked back to my hotel the long way and arrived late for nothing, which is the very best way to arrive when you're somewhere warm with no obligations. I think about Willem occasionally. I hope his cardiologist is attentive and his dosage correct and that he and his wife have returned to Lisbon and found it exactly as they left it. I hope nothing requires a translator on that trip. But if it does, I hope someone adequate happens to need sunscreen nearby.